Welcome. As you enter the video, make sure to like and subscribe. And I know that the title of this video says my thoughts on reliability, but I don't want to just limit this to my thoughts. There are many talented, knowledgeable, wise people that watch this channel. And if you're new, please share us any and all experiences, not just with your own personal car, but something that's happened to a family member, whether you have a friend down the street that's had an experience with the car, good or bad. Let us know in the comment section. And more importantly, I want to hear from any type of fleet managers. If you have a fleet of vehicles, let us know how that's holding up. If you work at a dealership, I want to know all of your thoughts, because this can be of a huge help and benefit to people down the road. I just want the comment section to be like a forum page almost that people can refer back to, if you will. Little interesting fact for you. Did you know that a regular car on average has about 30,000 parts associated to it? Well, if you count something like the engine as being one singular part, then there's still around 1,800 components associated to an automobile. As for a regular car, mind you. I mean, all things considered, the modern automobile actually does a pretty good job of staying reliable and keeping people out on the road. All things considered, it has a lot of moving parts. I am shocked with how little care the average car buyer puts into purchasing something like this, how they refuse to purchase certain warranties for certain types of cars, despite all the moving parts associated with it. But regardless, we'll get more into that later on. This topic of reliability, this is something that pretty much everybody dodges, okay? All the mainstream car reviewers, nobody talks about this topic right here, because for good reason. Hindsight is 2020, all right? And nobody really knows for sure what's going to happen with any of the new cars that most people are reviewing, myself included. It's not until an owner takes delivery and spends 5, 6, 10 years with an automobile that we actually know the true issues and the true recalls that's going to occur over time. And it's like a good loyal viewer of mine, Excalibur, has said in one of my posts, no car is perfect. Any car can suffer from issues. Nothing made by man is perfect. But in that same post, another person commented and replied saying that that's not entirely true. Certain manufacturers have demonstrated a much better reliability track record than others. And, you know, that individual also has a point there as well. And let's get into it. First, I'm going to share some of my personal experiences. And throughout the video, I'm going to have screenshots of some of the things that the viewers have shared with me in some of my various posts. All right, let's get started. The first and only car that I have ever been stranded in is a Honda product. It is a 2010 Acura TSX, the 4-cylinder model. The ignition coil failed and I lost power, and I didn't know any better. I started smelling gasoline fumes and I was like, what the hell is going on? I just pulled over, and I had no choice. I had to pull over because it's a little dinky 4-cylinder, made no power. Once I stepped on the gas, like nothing was happening. So the car was just undrivable. I had to pull over and I had to have the car towed. Now, the ignition coil in and of itself is not a very expensive thing to fix with the car, but it is an annoyance to be stranded out on the road and wait for a tow truck. But that's not the only issue I had with it. This car also had a VTC actuator problem, and also it was drinking a quart of oil for every 1,000 miles. It was just absurd. So I did actually purchase a $2,000 warranty at the time for this vehicle. It's a Hendrick Auto Guard warranty, so I was covered for all of these things, even the tow to the dealership. And that warranty at the time cost me like $2,000, and well over $4,000 worth of expenses happened with that particular car. And that's with a so-called Honda product. I bought that car at a dealership with like 60 some odd thousand miles, which most of you would say, oh, it's just getting broken in. And that's not true. 60,000 miles is still quite a bit. It's lived a life. But that's what I purchased because that's all I could afford at the time. This really pissed me off because I did a lot of research in buying this car. I bought that car, A, because it's a Honda, and also because it seemed like the most simplistic option. It only had a 4-cylinder engine, and it didn't even have push-button start. That was another thing I did not want. I wanted this car to be as simplistic as possible. So it had a regular key that you had to put in. I was quite disappointed because another car I was thinking about getting was a Infiniti G37 at the time, which had push-button start, which had a much more powerful VQ V6 engine. But the flip side of this is another individual commented on one of my posts saying that a 2010 Acura TSX has been one of the most reliable cars that he has ever owned. So you see how random this is. Okay, I tried to buy one of the most reliable cars, had a terrible experience. Yet another person, same car, had a phenomenal experience with the car. But I just wanted to shed some light on this because I don't know what it is, but certain companies like Nissan, Hyundai, and Kia, they get constantly scrutinized for the issues that they've had in the past, like the Nissan Jatco, whatever the hell it's called, CVT transmissions. I'm not saying that that wasn't a real issue and people shouldn't be upset by it, but it's just like, why is it that only that particular brand Nissan gets scrutinized when in fact in the early 2000s Honda had their fair share of transmission issues with their automatics and even their manual transmissions when equipped with their V6 engines. A lot of people were having issues with these particular transmissions in the early 2000s. So I'm not sure where Honda has like this unbelievable reputation for reliability similar to that of Toyota, when in fact they had their own set of issues and they never get scrutinized for it. Same thing with Hyundais and Kias, like they do catch on fire, and that is a bit unfortunate. That is a bit of an inconvenience. I won't deny that. However, Hyundais and Kias are not the only cars to catch on fire. Lately, Fords and Chevys have been catching on fire, and in the past, BMWs have caught on fire, Mercedes-Benzes have caught on fire, Ferraris have caught on fire, Porsches have caught on fire. Yet, people still have posters of these cars on their walls. People still buy them. People still see them as reputable, good brands to buy from. Yet Hyundais and Kias are the only ones getting scrutinized for these fire issues. Again, I'm not trying to take away from these issues. I'm just saying, why are certain brands scrutinized more than others? That's all. So that's one aspect, okay, of a brand that is seemingly known for great reliability, but has had a bit of a sketchy past as well. Maybe they're seen as being good because Hondas make lawnmowers. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, now I'm going to share with you some other very interesting stories because we just talked about Honda there. I'm not trying to pick on Honda, but I'm just trying to shed some light on the realities of what went on with that particular company. Now, another car company, Mercedes-Benz, something that people think is just going to blow up after the warranty period is finished. Well, there's some interesting things that I've heard. One of my master technician friends, Dave Garcia, he owns 2 Mercedes-Benzes, okay? They both have over 300,000 miles on them each. Not a single issue with either of them. I think his wife's car is a GL Mercedes, so the flagship SUV at the time. And both of these cars are like 2010, 2011s. And Dave's own personal car is a Mercedes E-Class. Held up flawlessly. They even look amazing. I've seen it. Their interiors look amazing. They're clean. I mean, granted, Dave's a master tech. He's going to service these cars perfectly. Regardless, 2 cars that most people think is just going to fall apart have held up flawlessly. And I've also read on a Mercedes-Benz forum, because in the past I've done a S-Class review, a 2015 S550 review with over 150k miles on it. And I mentioned in that video, I was looking through the forums of Mercedes-Benz, and there was a person who ordered a brand new 2014 Mercedes S550 back when the W222 first came out. He ordered it brand new, and he was a one owner, and he kept it all the way up to 220,000 miles and never had one issue with the car. But enough about Mercedes-Benz. Another car make that is known for being horribly reliable is JLR, Jaguar, Land Rover, Range Rover. They are awful in terms of their reliability track record. However, even with those cars, there's some person that comments on one of my Range Rover videos saying that, oh, they have over 150,000 miles on their supercharged Range Rover and nothing ever went wrong with it. And you know what? I believe it because of all the things that we just talked about today. I'm sure there is a Land Rover, Range Rover owner that has never had a single issue with their car. But even with brand new cars that I've tested, I tested a 2022 F-Pace, and the passenger side electric seat would not work. It would not move forward and back. I can tilt it forward and back, but I couldn't move it forward and back with a brand new car with under 4,000 miles on it. Another issue with that F-Pace I had, brand new mind you, it would not go into reverse. I actually had to turn the car off and then turn it back on for it to go into reverse. So that's with brand new vehicles. Land Rover Defender that I tested, another brand new 2022 model, inline six. The vehicle just stopped. Okay, I was at a red light, the car just turned off. Okay, I'm not just talking about the auto stop start function. I'm talking about the entire vehicle just shut down, and I had to turn it back on again. It never happened again in my 1 week of testing it, but I just want to let you know that was an issue I had with it. That's a brand new Land Rover product. Now, I want to quickly address electric cars as well, because many people seem to think that, well, electric cars, they have a lot less moving parts associated with it, and that is true. It's mostly just suspension, brakes, etc. A couple of little wear items like that. But honestly, electric cars have demonstrated their own level of issues, like TfL with their Hummer EV that they bought. The thing literally just stopped in the middle of the road. Just shut down. And I remember an engineer commented in that video saying that, I forgot exactly what it is, but like their 12 volt battery system, because every car has a 12 volt battery, they apparently, when a car shuts down like that GMC Hummer, when it shuts down like that, the 12 volt battery, I think it's like locked inside of the trunk and there's no way to access it in a quick fashion. And apparently the engineer brought that up during the development of that Hummer, but they just didn't care when he brought it up, and they just continued to make the vehicle as it is. So the freaking car, when it gets stuck like that, there's really nothing you can do. It's pretty crazy how these multi-billion-dollar companies, they just kind of, you think they would know better, but honestly, I think they know better. Obviously, there are engineers working there giving these companies advice, and they just don't care. Polestar 2, that was a car that I was really interested in leasing at one point, but that vehicle had multiple issues with their telematics. I believe like their key fobs wouldn't work. People were getting locked inside of the vehicle. People were getting locked out of the vehicle. So a lot of little software glitches like that. Now, sure, maybe that can be an easy fix with an over-the-air update, but regardless, imagine the level of inconvenience. Like, put yourself in the shoes of an older couple. Maybe they just came back from like a Costco run with a cart full of groceries and they can't get inside of their Polestar 2. They're just kind of locked out of it. Dude, that really sucks. And obviously there's the Teslas, of course. Let's put the build quality issues aside, panel gaps and stuff, that's besides the point. But during those crazy hurricanes that hit Florida, and with all the flooding that occurred there, salt water, when that came in contact with a lot of these Tesla cars, they were just spontaneously catching on fire, and when an electric car catches on fire, it takes significantly more water and time for you to put out those fires than a regular ICE car if that were to catch on fire. A lot of little dangers like that as well with electric vehicles. And of course, even though they don't have a lot of the same maintenance issues or the cost of fuel like a traditional car, when it comes time to swap out the batteries, if you don't have a warranty, and then it can cost upwards of $10,000 to $20,000 to replace a battery on a Tesla product. Electric cars, they're definitely not perfect either. Let's forget the grid. Apparently the people in charge of this planet don't care about the grid. It's interesting how that is like that, but anyway. You see how random this reliability thing can be? It's literally like rolling the dice. That's genuinely what reliability is like with most products. And then we come to the most obvious choice, Toyota. which is like the golden standard for reliability, and for good reason. We've had multiple Toyotas and they've never had a single issue, and that's great. But I also know of people who have had issues with Toyota products. I know a person who bought like a brand new Corolla back in like 2008, brand new, and the transmission failed on it almost immediately. You know what that individual did? He went back, he took it back to the dealership. I don't know what the financial situation was like with that, but regardless, he went back and he purchased a Toyota Highlander. He went back to that same dealership, bought another Toyota. Why? Because at the end of the day, that is the brand that you can kind of trust with your eyes closed. Even if you have a hiccup with one of those cars, that's still kind of what you go back to. I mean, what else are you going to do? And he's not the only person. I know another individual that had some type of another transmission issue with, I believe, another 2008 Camry. So that, or it might have been 2009, but that generation of Toyotas seemingly had some issues. But I mean, I don't know. That's just two examples I can think of, but they did have issues with their Toyota products. Another YouTuber I follow, his name is Matt's Garage, and he also is not a huge fan of Toyotas, apparently. He's a mechanic, and he's had some issues with Toyota products. And again, guess what one of his most favorite cars is? He likes the Dodge Neon and the PT Cruiser. Stellantis / FCA products. That's what he enjoys. He's never had any issues with these PT Cruisers or these Dodge Neons, apparently. And one of his other daily drivers is a 1989 Mercedes Coupe. So very crazy, very wacky experiences that people have been having with various different cars. I recently met Matt Keegan, who runs the Driven Autos website, and he had a Dodge Neon in the past, and then he actually ended up selling it to his neighbor, and like his daughter's now driving it. It has over 200K miles on it, and it's still going, that Dodge Neon. So it's crazy the various experiences that people have with these cars. So as you can see, it is so random. And again, as I'm talking about all this, I'm still leaving the various thoughts and experiences that my commenters had with other cars. I know one individual, he commented that, I think it was Peter. Yeah, I think it was Peter. He commented that he had various V6 Ford Escapes and Ford Edges, and they were pretty reliable for him. Very interesting. But let's kind of go back to Toyota there. And I know Charlie Jackson, I believe, he was very upset with me. He said that I only recommend like cheap, nasty, crappy cars to people when I did my Nissan Altima review. I think he got a little pissy with me because I said Toyotas drive like cardboard boxes, and man, come on, man, I got to keep it real. He drives a Toyota, so I think maybe he got a little pissy with me for that. But then I asked him, like, okay, what's the issue with Nissan? Like, you said your friend has a Nissan, and he said, oh, no, nothing's wrong with the Nissan. He has a Nissan Altima, and it's holding up great. And I'm like, what the hell? Charlie just slandered me and ridiculed me for recommending crappy cars, and here he is saying an Altima is lasting great for his friend. Very strange. But anyway, Charlie also has some good experiences with Hondas and with Toyotas. 350Z lover, he works at a dealership. He claims Toyotas, Hondas holding up pretty good, hold up better than most cars, and that's true. I guess all things considered, these are pretty good cars to trust, Toyota especially. But there was an individual with a new Lexus LS 500, or sorry, it might not have been new, but it was slightly used, and he had an engine knocking issue with his LS 500, which is a twin turbo V6. Lexus, Toyota, I mean, they're all prone to issues, and it's not just the issues, but people have maintenance problems as well. This is another thing. Certain cars, even if they are reliable, like if a Mercedes or a Porsche, even if they might be reliable cars, they're still expensive to maintain. And that's another thing that really sucks with many vehicles. Like with many Lexus cars, I know like things like the Lexus LX, people have told me they have lasted to like 300,000 miles with very little issues. But one of the things is, with a lot of flagship Lexus products, the suspension tends to be very expensive, like the control arm / bushings, the struts on the suspension. If that ever fails, it's not really a fault of the car, it's just natural and what happens with flagship cars that are very heavy. The suspension is going to go out, and they cost a lot of money even if you use aftermarket components to replace and to fix, plus the labor to do something like that. And if you do it yourself, you're probably going to mess it up. So maintenance is another thing to take into consideration. But really, what is the key takeaway here? Because I just mentioned to you a bunch of random stories, and I told you just how random this can be. Well, the key takeaway is if you don't have a lot of money, still go and buy a Toyota. All things considered, Toyota does have the least amount of horror stories attached to it. A under $5,000 Toyota Avalon cash. That would be a car that I would save up for and purchase because that's the Toyota flagship, an Avalon. And I would get like a base model version of that and rock it for as long as I possibly can. Because a Lexus just has a higher parts cost associated with it simply because it is a luxury brand. And Toyota is obviously not. It's just a company that is unlike any other that's currently out. I mean, they take this reliability thing more seriously than anybody else. Any other car company is more like an experiment. Go ahead and experiment, but have a Toyota on the side in case of issues. I mean, that's kind of the key takeaway here because more people have had good things to share about Toyota than bad. But also times have changed and the financials of purchasing a car have also completely changed. Me personally, because car reliability is so random, the only way I would ever purchase a car is by leasing. I would lease and dump. And I get it, not everyone can do that because certain people just drive too much. And that's another thing in this economy, I would try to drive the least amount of miles as possible because obviously the less you drive, the less maintenance, the less fuel bills that you're going to have with any car. So that's just common sense, but some people just live too far away from work, etc. If this was a normal economy, it would have even been wise to just ditch your current residence and to just live closer to your workplace. Because another thing is, the less time you spend in a car, the less back issues you're going to have, the less health issues you're going to have, and the less chance of you getting into a car accident because you drive less. But obviously, housing prices have also increased, and with that, rent as well. So you can't just get up and leave. So that's another problem that a lot of people are having. But all things considered, if you're a business owner, for sure, leasing is the way to go. Leasing now sucks a little bit too because in the past for $300 a month, you probably could have hacked yourself into a BMW 3 Series. Now for that same $300 a month, you're going to be driving a Nissan Altima instead. So your quality of life has now decreased because of everything that's going on. But regardless, driving a brand new car, that's kind of my way of rolling. You know, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm sure as hell not your financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. I'm not anything. But, you know, starting a small business just to take advantage of some tax write-offs and to write off a brand new car might be worth it. I mean, just selling shit around the house, selling used clothing on eBay might be worth it to some of you to just generate an extra $500 a month just to make a $500 car payment and to write it off. Again, not tax advice, not financial advice, just saying leasing new cars is more beneficial. Having a car payment is more beneficial to those who own a business than to those who do not. But that is one of the best way of hedging yourself against any form of a issue that might arise with reliability or with maintenance on a car. And I would take it a step further and buy the correct way. Buy from a broker. Like, go to the Lease Hacker forum, find a broker. That's the only way to buying a car because, man, I can't believe it. Like, some people are even paying like 20 grand over sticker price to buy like a Kia Telluride or to buy a Hyundai Palisade. It is absurd. I mean, that is, I don't even care if I get canceled for this, but you are a fool if you pay that type of money for a freaking Palisade or a Telluride. These are like little mommy mobiles. You should not be paying that type of money for any of these cars. That's another way a lot of people are getting screwed over by paying over MSRP or even at MSRP. I mean, are people just not aware of what happened even pre-pandemic when we were actually getting discounts on cars? People were getting screwed over back then. Why would you pay MSRP today for any car? That is just utter foolishness. So making sure you buy a car the right way, buying it at a discount, even if you have to have the car shipped, it is worth it. And another thing, make sure you are selling the car right. Selling it under consignment is a good way of getting like max dollar for your money, even if you have to pay a small commission to a dealership to make that happen. If you're getting top dollar, that's definitely a good way to do it. But if you don't want to deal with that, if you just want to trade it in, I mean, doing the online car research, you know, KBB, CarMax, Vroom, Carvana, even though half of these companies are going bankrupt, you never know. Some of them might pay obscene levels of money for certain cars, so it's worth just shopping around all the different avenues of selling cars online. And finally, warranties. Now, I used to tell people always get warranties, and you should still do that, especially with luxury products, even getting maintenance packages as well. But the thing is, you have to make sure that these warranties are pro rated. You don't want to just go out and get any old warranty. Typically, buying warranties from the actual chain dealerships is the best way to do it, but make sure it's pro rated. And what does that mean? That means when you go to sell a car, halfway through your warranty period, you can actually get a portion of that warranty money back. Like, for instance, that Acura TSX where I had all those issues, I paid $2,000 for that warranty. However, the warranty for that car was 4 years. I only kept the car for 2 years. So I went back after I sold the vehicle and I canceled the warranty and got half my money back, 2 years worth for the unused portion. So my warranty only cost me $1,000 and I got paid well over $4,000 in repairs. So that's the type of warranties you want to make sure you're buying. But also nowadays you have to read the fine print because there's all sorts of stipulations. There's an individual, I forgot his name. I'll leave his warranty video down in the description box because I apologize, I'm forgetting him. He's pretty popular though. You probably already know. Oh, Lucky Lorenzo, I think. Lucky Lopez, yes, I think that's his name. I apologize. But yeah, he made a great video. Just in general, all of his videos are very good. Talking about a warranty and all the various things like the mileage limitations and the hourly rate that a certain warranty might allow you. You have to, there's so many fine details and points that you have to look into before signing up for one, because you can sign up for a warranty and it might be a clause in there that allows them to put like a used transmission in your car. All sorts of things you have to watch out for, and times have really changed. Warranty prices have gone up, and also the fine print has increased. Like back in the day, people like Doug DeMiro, they would make these CarMax warranty videos, and those things are honestly, it's outdated videos like that, because nowadays CarMax warranties, they're a lot more strict now with what they cover and what they don't cover. Like I had one of my Patreon members, he has a Lexus LS460, has a CarMax warranty, and he had an issue with his ML audio system. They wouldn't cover it. So there's a lot of little random things that you need to watch out for. Because CarMax was given this huge promotion, a lot of people knew about these amazing CarMax warranties that didn't cost a lot of money. Well, that's changed now. Now they've upped the price on their warranties, and they're not covering as many things either. So they're getting smarter about what they're offering, what types of services that they're offering. Now you as a consumer, now you need to get smarter. And the unfortunate thing is, most people are going to continue to get screwed over because this is not the knowledge and wisdom that most people want to seek. Most people perish for a lack of knowledge, and this is just boring to most people. Not many people are educated about cars. Not many people care about cars. And so they get screwed over. Dealerships, man, they are like vultures. This is a very predatory industry, cars. Every avenue of it, okay? It sucks if you go into this uneducated. They treat you like dirt, especially nowadays. And this is another reason why I don't like dealing with used cars, because you don't know what life many of these used cars have lived, and you don't know what these dealerships are passing on to you. So getting pre-inspections, that's important. Paying like $100 to a mechanic to have a car checked out, that's imperative if you have to buy a used car. If you absolutely cannot lease something new or finance something new, do that. Because I'll share this as well. Another reason why I don't like doing used car reviews is because every car is so freaking different. I remember I drove a 2016 Lexus GS 350 and it drove like trash. It felt like a dog. It was so slow. It was so sluggish to react. I have no idea what was wrong with that car. It was a rear-wheel drive F-Sport model, and it just felt awful. And I hated the Lexus GS for the longest time. And that made me sad. But then I drove like 10 other Lexus GSs after that, and they all felt amazing. And that GS that I drove, the 2016, it wasn't even a high mileage one. It was like a 40,000 mile, like certified pre-owned car. and it felt awful. And then I drove a 2017, a regular GS. I put in eco mode, and that felt so quick. It felt so snappy. It felt great to drive. I drove a 2020. I drove older models, 2013s, 2015s, some with even 250K miles on them. That still felt amazing to drive. So even used cars, there is such a massive gap in how certain cars will perform. I know that getting an alignment can fix a lot of driving issues. Doing a quick oil change, that can help. But regardless, you don't know the life that some of these cars have lived. A lot of Lexus cars actually need premium fuel, and almost nobody uses premium fuel in any of these vehicles. They just completely ignore that, and because of that, maybe that's why that car felt sluggish. 40,000 miles worth of regular fuel. I don't know what the issue was, but that's just the random problems. Like, when you buy a car new and you get the car meticulously serviced, I feel like those types of cars last the longest, like that Mercedes S-Class, for instance. As you can see from the length of this video, this is why nobody covers reliability, because there's just so many variables attached to it. Even with warranties, even with leasing, the financial side of everything. Nobody wants to cover any of this because it's such a hassle, and most normal people, they're just not going to be able to wrap their heads around any of this, unfortunately. It's sad, but it's the truth. I mean, most people don't even like cars. Automotive community is unlike any other. I mean, this is the only group of people that will absolutely scrutinize and call you an idiot for not knowing anything about cars. There's no reason to go out and scrutinize another human being for not knowing enough about cars. A watchmaker, a sneakerhead, they're not going to, ridicule you for not knowing about that particular topic. To summarize, I would either lease and dump new cars, and on the used market, I would just buy Toyotas and still get it pre-inspected. That's the best way to roll. And I'm fully aware that if you love cars and you hear things like, oh, Toyota is the only answer, that disappoints you. It's just the reality. If you don't have a lot of money, then that's just kind of the car to default to. But that's the thing. That's where leasing and financing come in. If you love cars, then you're just going to go out and lease and finance, maybe start a small business. But here's the other problem. You start a small business, you start making $500 to $2,000 a month, because that's actually the typical finance / lease for a very nice car is typically $500 to $2,000 a month. If you start making that type of money, you're not going to want to blow that on a car. You're actually just going to want to retire off of that money, or put it away, or invest it, or if you have a family, a house, you're going to want to put that away for your kids or pay down the house bill. So that's the other thing. Even if you start making enough to afford some of these nicer vehicles that you have always aspired to own, you're not going to want to blow it on the car if you start making that type of money. But at least you can write it off. Again, not financial advice, just pointing that out. If you love cars, you're going to do leasing. You're going to do some type of crazy balloon financing on a car that you've always wanted. That's just one of the only ways really to buy like a 6-figure car or a near 6-figure car. You have to lease it or finance if you want to get in any type of before your fingers start to rot out and you have arthritis and you can't get in and out of these cars anymore. It's one of the only quick ways of getting yourself into some of these cars and to finally put your money where your mouth is, and to not just sit on the sidelines, but to actually have seat time in the vehicles that you've always wanted. You're going to have to take out some form of a loan. So that's the unfortunate part. But for the rest of the people that don't care about cars, that don't even like cars, that don't like driving, that don't like to have anything to do with the car, Toyota's a pretty good option. It's like how another person said, it's the one car where it requires the least amount of attention or maintenance or anything like that. Most normal people can kind of keep it on their driveway a bit longer. Lease Hacker, that's a good forum to look into. If you want to know more about leasing new cars and not get screwed over, that's definitely a great resource that I absolutely recommend. Just read up on it. It's just good to be educated on such topics so you don't get screwed over in the future. And make sure you're commenting in the comment section as well. Let us know your other methods of buying and selling cars. Let us know other vehicles that have held up really well, preferably in a form of a fleet. That would be great to know. Which companies are holding up. Obviously, we know about the Crown Vics that have held up extremely well over the years, the Prius taxi cars, stuff like that. Continue to share with us, maybe you work in a police department, let us know how those like Dodge Chargers are doing, that would be great information to share. There's so many things I haven't shared in this video, like so many things I left off the table because there's just not enough time in the world to make a video regarding this topic. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about financing cars, the average price of a new car, man, like the average interest rates, it's like 5% I think for a new car, which is asinine, and over 7 or 9% for a used car, I think. Yeah, car market is nuts. Average price of a used car is like 30 grand. Average price of a new car that's being sold, it's like 47 grand. It is just nuts out there. I'll make more videos. I'll make more videos talking about various things about this industry because not many people are willing to cover it, but I'll try my best to. I don't know everything, so that's why I need the help of you guys in the comment section to continue to educate me as well. Honestly, a lot of you guys should just start your own channel. Just talk, say anything, share any of your information that you have with us because there are far more knowledgeable, wiser, older people in the comment section that know more. I wish you would go out, hit record on your iPhone or your whatever phone and just start making some videos and post them because you never know, man. Those things can really take off for you. But for right now, I'm just going to leave it at this. Thank you for watching this video. I'll have another video on the end screen here that you can check out. Thank you again. I'll see you there.